Are you ready? I am, sir. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, greetings, fellow Rotarians, on this last Friday in February. Would you join me in prayer? As we gather to share our meal with our fellow Rotarians and our guests, let us pause and reflect on our purpose for participating. As we gather for fellowship and participate in our clubs to benefit our community and to leave a positive mark on the world in which we live. We thank you, Creator, for the gifts you have bestowed upon us, both spiritually and materially. We ask your guidance in sharing blessings on those who are in need, and always guide us to the principles of fairness, truthfulness, and improving relations with those in whom we interact. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you.
Yeah, you ready for the, we are sitting at 64%, no guests today, other than speaking.
All right.
See what I lost. All right, you got to let that money go get those.
Well, as you can tell, Chris is not here today. He's one of those things that gets paid for, you know, his job. So he has to come to the- And he's tired. I'm not worried about that as much. I'll remind everybody about the Beaver Creek Foundation, the golf outing on 15th. If you want to play, there's still places for them to join. There's sponsors you can still buy. And hope to see you there. Yeah. Chris is not here today, as I've already said. I think I'm gonna ask a couple of questions. They might be considered rhetorical. So I'm gonna go through them. Why do we park on the driveway and drive on the parkway? You ever wonder about that? Who comes up with naming these things? Why are pizzas made round, cut in triangles, and served in a square box? You know that a hummingbird weighs less than 2 pennies? Wow. And he beats his wings 80 times a second. Not a second, 80 times a second. And the heart beats 1,200 times a minute. I mean, tiny little bird. Did you know that Walt Disney did Mickey Mouse's voice for almost 20 years? I didn't know that. I just came across it. You know that Harry Potter's book was rejected by 12 publishers? And finally a publisher took it on, a little small hole-in-the-wall publisher, and they sold 500 million copies of it since then. So those other publishers are probably kicking themselves. You know what the first thing a barcode do, you know? Pack of gut water. The very first thing. That's probably something nobody really needs to remember, but I thought it was this. You know that Barbie had over 200 careers? In her whole world. 200. She was, let me write that, an astronaut, a doctor, a pilot, a president, and a firefighter. I didn't know she had anything being a Barbie kid. So, did you know that Godzilla has a star on the Hall of Fame? On Hollywood Hall of Fame? Godzilla. Did you see on the news here a while back where scientists in Japan have created a gel they can interject into your gum in a tooth growth? I'm making that up. That's a scientific journal.
Now, I don't know how far it is to come to fruition, you know, where they can use it on everybody. But that was sure put the picture makers out. I would thank you. Excuse myself. Did you know that the Sahara Desert was once a lush green grassland with lakes and trees? I don't know what happened after that. Kind of went pop. Speaking of pops, did you know that ancient toilets had no privacy? You sat in a row on top of your throne and you passed around the stick that had a sponge on it to clean up. Awesome. It's faster than the next guy. Sure got lost on I never heard that before. I've seen a picture before. Never, I didn't know that there was some kind of protection. I'll give you one more and I'll give you a break. In 2011, the football game in Seattle had such a celebration at the end that it registered on the seismic sensors, registered an earthquake. They had that kind of a response to whatever was going on in the game. Well, I do have one more, I'm sorry. In ancient Greece, the athletes competed completely naked. I'm looking at it
It shows they have toward the end of the game.
Again.
I said, that shows they had some skin in the game.
Oh, oh, and I'm gonna be easy on the fines too. If you're late, you owe $1. If 50% of you knew all the answers, you owe another $1.
What are you doing, Jack?
And if anybody moved during this, you're up here for the first 10 minutes next Friday. Okay? How's that? Yeah. Happy bucks. Anybody got any happy bucks?
I'll put Happy Buck for Kynan. He's at the state swimming tournament today with his relay team from Beaver Creek High School. Yeah, I think he's swimming the breaststroke lap of the 200 medley.
Oh,
Yeah, so we are bringing home a new puppy today. Ella. It's really Estrella that we're calling her Ella.
anybody else? Oh, yeah.
Today we get to celebrate our son's 13th birthday.
Oh, and that's happy birthday.
I want to give 3 happy bucks. I was honored to present on the floor of the House Wednesday a commendation to the boys cross country state championship team, the first in school history in Beaver Creek. I gave a commendation to the superintendent of the year, Paul Otten, our own Paul Otten. And I call it a major award, but our athletic director, Brad Pampas, won like a district-wide athletic director of the year. So we presented all 3 of those wins.
Oh, wow. We're impressed with this. Superintendent of the year. Okay, 50-50. We're ready to win some money? Oh, yeah, I'll wait for you. Oh, it's gonna be a can today.
I got a can. Get here.
Can do it. All right. The last 3 numbers are 5, 6, 9.
Platform. Jump one plus.
Right over
Where's it at?
here. Go. And I'd be remiss if I didn't tell you there's 246 days for Halloween.
We're not. The states. Sure.
Winter, hot road. Hot road.
All right. Don, you ready to introduce our speakers?
I got a couple of things I want to do first.
Do a couple of things. All right. Thank you.
As folks you know, in regards to the golf opportunities, so if you want to do any donations, full sponsorships, silver, gold, whatever, please see me. You know anybody that wants to play, please let's get signed up as soon as we can. But along that same vein, one of the things that we do with the golf outing is the proceeds go back into the community. So I'm going to ask David Kuzak come back up here. We would send a check, and I'll ask Gussie Jones to come forward from Owens Place. This is from the proceeds of last year's golf outing.
So, as usual, our friend of Rotary, Gussie, stepped up to help us with the golf outing in honor of Owens Place and for the benefit of Owens Place. And also, as characteristic of Gussie, she was extremely patient in this check that should have been in her hands and in the free giving account for Owens Place months ago. But thank you so much for supporting us, and we're happy to support you. What you do at Owens Place is a great statement about what this community is. We really appreciate it.
It's great to be back. I don't know why I don't come more often. I really want to because I've got a lot of friends out here, and the support of the Rotary Club over the years has been wonderful. If you haven't been to Owens Place lately, or if you've never been, I strongly encourage you to go. We're getting ready to replace one of the not quite original, but very early on pieces of equipment because it is worn out. And it is worn out because of all the use and all the individuals that come and play at Owens Place. We're also going to take up some of the tiles and replace that with it's called Forever Lawn. It's an AstroTurf, artificial surface, because it's got a much longer shelf life than the tiles do, and those are worn out around our world. And we are also looking, well, we're going to put in another Fuzzy Friend. If you haven't gone out to see Fuzzy Friend, come see him. He's orange. We're going to put a yellow one in to match him. And there'll be a little bit of cosmetic stuff that has to be done when it goes in. And I will use the check that you gave me today to help us do that. And then we've got one other long-term plan that I can't announce yet. Watch, if we can raise enough money, that will go in either the end of this year or the beginning of next year. And this is our hope that we will be able to continue to add something new every year to keep the momentum and the community's interest in the playground. So again, Rotary, thank you. You have been wonderful over the years for us. We appreciate it very much. Yeah.
She said she's not moved that fast in a long time. We originally had planned to do this next week, but she's out of town, and I called her at 11:40 and I said, "Can you be here by 11:45?" But that gives you an idea of where the dollars go that we collect for the golf outing. They all go right back into the community. We don't keep anything here; it all goes back in. But honestly, this year I'd like to really grow a lot of money because I'd like to give a lot of money away. That's what it's all about. Now it's my pleasure to introduce our speaker today. Samantha Lakes is the founder of Lakes for Love. After experiencing trauma in her own family, Samantha transformed that journey into a mission to support other families in crisis. Through thoughtfully assembled connection kits distributed in partnership with first responders and community organization, Lakes for Love provides immediate comfort, care, and practical resources to children and families during some of their most difficult moments. Please join me in warmly welcoming Samantha Lakes.
Hi, everyone. Nice to meet you.
I think he's pulling our website up. I'm Sam Lakes. Thanks for having me. I started Lakes for Love. It's still a new nonprofit. We started in May, June of 2024. So we're just about to hit our 2-year mark. To really understand why Lakes for Love was created, I think I have to give some background info to really understand why we are doing what we're doing in the community. And so in August of 2023, it's been a minute, but in August of 2023, we found out that our children were being sexually abused by our best friend, who was our neighbor. And so in the moment, like my then 7-year-old son, told me in the moment as it was happening to his brother right after. And so how we reacted really kind of paved the pathway for starting this, getting our kids like the help that they needed and stopping that from occurring any longer. So kind of to start that story off, I think it's really important for everyone to understand that I am a social worker. I have my master's in social work. I worked in our community in Dayton for over a decade, working with children and families experience immediate and immense complex trauma. And so it can be overlooked and it can be unknown. Something that I had to work a lot for myself was I caught on your social. How did you know these signs? You work with kids that have had this happen. Sometimes people groom. You know what I mean? They groom your family, they groom your kids, and you don't see those signs initially. And so that is something that I've had to work a lot on is figuring out, you know, I mean, how to educate other parents and give support for other parents that have gone through those similar situations and don't know what to do in those moments. And so kind of to go back to the initial night when that happened, we lived in Kettering. Since then we've moved to Miamisburg, bought a house this past year, so it's really exciting. But I initially like called the police instantly. I didn't really know what else to do. I think in my brain, that's the first thing I thought. I always tell people like our neighbor was still in our backyard, like with my husband. We were having a cookout. Our kids were young enough, they needed to go to bed around 8, like they were little, you know what I mean, young elementary. And so we like had just laid them down. He said he was going to the restroom. We have had their family over with their kids for years. And so our kids kind of grew up together. And so we didn't think anything of it in the moment. And so once I was told, which I have the bravest 7-year-old I've ever met in my life, he was about to turn 10. I always tell him like, oh, you're just so brave. But I instantly called the police. Luckily, my husband, I got to come inside and I told him what was just told to me. I always say, I think everything that he reacted the way he did and not what could have happened. Because he like asked him to leave immediately. And the police showed up very fast. And so a lot happened in a 24-hour time span, a lot. He was arrested that night on the spot at his house. And we went to Children's where my younger one, who was 5, had to do a sexual assault kit. Dramatic all around. Or to explain to a 5-year-old what is happening. We spent, it was like 7 hours in the hospital. It was overnight by the time they like called the forensic nurse in. They actually like, so it took a very long time. In those moments, I realized afterwards, oh, there might have been some stuff missing that would have been helpful. I was rushed there. My husband was at home with my other children while the police were. Our house was like a forensic, you know what I mean, space. They were taking all their bedding, they were taking pictures. And so we kind of divided and conquered in that moment. But I realized like I didn't bring a phone charger. You know what I mean? Like my phone was dying, but I had my mom with me. And so I had support, but there was things in the moments that I was missing. We got back from Children's at like 7 o'clock that morning, and within 2 hours, Care House. Does anyone know what Care House is? Okay, so Care House is the Montgomery County Child Abuse and Neglect Forensic Interviewing Center. It's right in front of Children's Hospital. They don't like openly present it or make it look really friendly and fun because I think that's just a place where it's supposed to be very, you know what I mean, like protected, you know what I mean, for the kids and families going in there. Inside of it, it's very friendly. But and so we went at 1 o'clock that next day, and both of my children were forensically interviewed by a social worker by themselves. And then as parents, we met with children's services, detectives, care house, forensic interviewers, and the prosecutor. And they give you a lot to run around. It's kind of a lot in a moment time. But within 7 days from then, my 5 and 7-year-old children were standing by themselves in front of a grand jury of 12 grown adults. I could not go in. My husband could not go in. We were prepped. They were prepped in front of a judge where they had to be able to be deemed competent to speak. I was like, how do you deem a 5 and 7-year-old competent? They asked lots of random questions. And if they can answer appropriately and honestly, they're deemed competent. And so they had to tell their stories in front of those adults they never met in their life, and they met the prosecutor that day. So, to kind of to say all that, it's the way our system is set up is not always child friendly or victim friendly for what the kids have to go through. You know, I mean, there is no pre-planning. They go and they have to do it in that moment. We then had to wait for grand jury to come back. Grand jury is secret. You're not supposed to know when it is, who's in it, so that whoever the perpetrator is does not gain that info. So we waited and waited, and then later that day they called back and said that they did indict him on all the charges. So he was indicted on 4 counts of rape and 4 counts of gross sexual imposition, and was facing 80 years to life. So kind of fast forward 9 months, we went through a lot of different challenges. We put our children obviously in counseling at Care House. They're specialized to do that type of counseling. We had a victim advocate through the courts. They are very, very busy. And so you're not always getting what you need in that moment. I think, gosh, I'm a social worker because I was really relentless and never gave up. And so when we didn't hear from the victim advocate for 4 months, I was kind of prosecuting myself. To say all that, a lot of families in the community don't know how to do that. They're not set up with those skills to advocate, you know, to that level with their children or for their children, and they oftentimes give up because the system is kind of set up to where it's really, really hard to get from start to finish in a court case like that. We did choose to take a plea deal, so that my children did not have to stand on the stand in front of him. I wish I would have known what I know now, but in the moment it was very chaotic and anxiety ridden. But in the state of Ohio, you actually can request that your child interviews in front of the judge by themselves. Okay, well, I didn't exactly know that. I kept advocating and saying like, there's gotta be a different way. Unfortunately, the prosecutor didn't want my children to do that. She wanted them to stand in front of him. I did not agree with it, and so we took a plea deal. And he will serve at least 15 to 20 years in prison. Specifically chose that plea deal because my children will be grown and not children any longer by that time. And his children will be grown and not children. So we also kind of played that factor in there, because I know that's also hard for his previous wife, his children, like, you know what I mean? And we were trying to somewhat protect them in that moment too. So to say all of that, it was a whole year process. Trying to teach my children to not be ashamed or afraid. It was very hard. Can I say that my kids didn't go through any trauma symptoms? Absolutely not. We still hit bumps along the road. We still have to go through the challenges of like, do they need to go back to counseling? I mean, it's individual. But it's very personal. And so in May of 2024, I was sitting in a trauma conference, actually in Columbus with my work. And I just started thinking like, man, what were we missing? What were we missing in the moments that would have helped our kids or ourselves or other families that kind of just aren't thought about in that direct moment of time when it's really chaotic and it's crisis driven. And so I got with my family and my mom and my sister and was like, this sounds crazy, but like, I don't know, I want to do this. And they had my back and we went for it. So we created these connection kits. I will show you what is inside of them. And they currently are in every Kettering police cruiser. Beaver Creek Police have 3. They wanted to trial them. And so they've used 2. I need to go bring them 2 more. And then we have them in the back of every Middletown police cruiser. The randomness of the connection with the police departments, Kettering, obviously, we had a connection because of the detectives. But the other ones was people just kept like being like, hey, gee, I know this person and I know that person. And that's just how it kind of like connected those pieces. Who we really give these to is Care House, though. Care House receives 80 of these every 2 months. So they go through 40 a month. The amount of children and families that are seen through Care House, and I suggest you look them up. They do amazing work. They're funded by the hospital, but they also do a lot of work inside the community. And they average, I want to say she told me last time, it was like over 2,000 kids a year come in there. And the percentage of those families that actually get a conviction or even the perpetrator gets indicted on charges is only 5%. So, in the realm of how many children are abused or neglected, and how many people actually get any type of justice for that, it's very, very, very slim. There has to be enough evidence for that to be proven in the court of law. So I would say there's a lot. Yeah, I mean, also pertaining to sexual abuse, that's actually it's still very not talked about. It's a stigma that has been around for years and years and years. And it is something that we are working really hard on to make that stigma slow down. And for people to feel heard, that they can say that happened to them, it's not their fault. Which is where our connection kits and the education that I provided comes in. Because I find it my mission to make sure my kids know that was not their fault. And they didn't do that. That happened to them. And with these connection kits, they've also got to be a part of a lot of this. I will not let them be on social media or, like in any type of that. It's also not my job to tell you how they felt during that time. It's my job to tell you as a parent how I went through that and where I'm taking it. I will not speak for them. As they get older, if they choose to do that, they can. But I will never make them have that decision to feel they have to. So our kits are filled with anything in the moment that I thought would have helped. One thing that happened to my older one that was still at home when the police were there is the police told him to like put his head down because they were taking pictures and he was still in his room. He put his head like face down in the pillow, like he couldn't breathe, but they didn't know that. And so like months later, he's like, Mom, the police told me to do this. And like, then I couldn't breathe when they said that. And I was like, an education to the police departments. Because how you say things to kids, they're literal. Like they take things very literally. And so that's really where the initial thought of police should have these. And if they are going in and they are doing a crime scene, domestic violence, you know what I mean? Even a car wreck or a fire, like these kids need something to do. It's very anxiety ridden for any traumatic event a child is in. And for an adult, it was for me. So for my own children, I know that it was very anxiety ridden for them. So we kind of have 2 separate things in here. We have an adult bag, which this is for teens or the parents. In them, we always get a gift card. This is something that I thought of afterwards. Like, man, it would have been really nice after we were at Care House and the courts and all these different places to maybe not have to think about what I'm going to cook my children for dinner that night. Also to the fact of I have the means to drive my car to a fast food place or to order pizza. Not everyone does. Our Montgomery County has a lot, and so is Green, like, I mean, a lot of areas that are destitute for transportation. And so they can't just go and get that. And DoorDash, I know is the biggest thing, but it's really expensive. So a lot of people don't have the means. So we've been doing places that deliver, and so that they can just have it brought to their house. And we do it normally a $20 or $25. We put tissues in here. That was a requested care house. I didn't necessarily think of that, but they were like, a lot of people come in here crying and we're always looking for tissues. So we put tissues in here for the adults. We put a notebook. It has positive like affirmation on it. It's really just for them to either write like stuff they're being told. You're also as a parent being told 9,000 things in 1 second. And it's hard to keep track of it all. So a notebook where they can write or their next appointment, however that may look. We put chapstick in here, we put pens so that they can write. A phone charger, we specifically use the 3-prong where it doesn't matter what phone you have. It can be iPhone, Android, it doesn't matter. Because you need that when you're all over. We were in 6 different places in a week's time. You know what I mean, doing a lot of different things. We put a block in there. We put chapstick and we put these sensory stickers. These are very, just like you can put them on a water bottle. I put them on my water bottles, my kids put them on theirs. But they are touch and then they give like a different way to breathe. So this would be like star breathing. So it tells you like you breathe in and then you breathe out. And you breathe in and you breathe out. We put adult coloring books in here. Really for the teens. So that they have something to do as well. The kids stuff is all child related. So they have coloring books. We put sensory stickers in them. I also know I mentioned I'm a therapist or a social worker. I'm actually a child therapist, or now I'm a director, but I used to be a child therapist. And so anything sensory, children love, and it helps their anxiety. So I really thought of like, okay, what sensory stuff do kids like? So we put sensory stickers in here. We put everything for the child is 2. Just so most families have more than 1 child, even if it's only 1 child that has been abused, like the other kids can play with stuff too. And so we put 2 of everything. We put a card game, we put a family card game. So it kind of like encourages the parents like engage with your kids. Like it's really stressful time. Don't forget that like it's your stress, so are they. And so we put that in there. We put fidgets. We put lots of different fidgets in there. Really, because I have small kids, I know what up and coming cool fidgets are. These little squishies, I don't know, every child loves them and they want like a million of them. They're just really cool to play with. These turtles, we put little stuffed turtles in there. The turtles have a meaning. And we have a card on them. These ones just don't have it. But turtles have a natural defense. So they have a shell. And so if anyone's ever heard of Tuck the Turtle, I'm a therapist, so I'm right. But it's about a turtle. And when the turtle's scared, it tucks in its shell. When it feels safe, it can come out of its shell. So the turtles are, supposed to provide them some comfort and remind them that like you can feel safe. You know what I mean? And just by protecting yourself. So we have a parent card in here too that talks like directly from me to them, like as a parent, not as somebody who just founded an organization. And then our like website stuff on there. We also put the sensory stickers in with the kids stuff too. That's a lot of stuff we put in here. Why? We and I have been working really hard on my board. I now have a board. None of us are currently paid. We are starting. We just had a 2-hour-long meeting with Medicaid because we are going to start peer mentorship. There is nothing in our area at all that supports parents that their children are going through the court system like that. It supports them as a family. And so Ohio will do peer mentorship and we are going to start that. It's a process. To become Medicaid certified and a behavioral health or agency is a process. But that is our next initiative. currently, we continue to do the kits, and we just make a lot of different connections within our communities. To serve Montgomery, Green, Michael's House, we've talked, which is in Fairborn. They are the offset of Care House. So Michael's House and Care House are the same. They're owned by the same people. They're owned by children's, and they're ran together. So my children were actually seen at Michael's house because it was closer to us. So they also get some of these at times. They don't have as higher of a rate of kids they see, just because Greek has smaller, but they also receive some of these as well. Our website, I'm gonna come over here and scroll down. I also put trifolds on your tables. The trifolds resemble the website. So, it also will show you. Let's see if I can do this by. I'm like, oh yeah, this is hard. Okay, hold on. Maybe oh, there you go. This is our website. Our mission is to share love through support and experience. We talk, I mean, it's pretty simple, but we have been getting surveys. I can't say getting surveys from families that are going through like the immediacy of a traumatic time is really hard to get. Like they're not thinking about filling out a 3-question survey for me. That's not in their mind currently. But I can tell you that we actually have been getting some and have really, really good feedback from them, from the parents, which has been really cool to see as well. We know they're being used, but it's really nice to see the feedback of what people think when they're getting them. Here's just what's happening. So we do quarterly kit fillings. I'm not gonna lie, I used to do them at my house every month and it became a lot, especially with the amount that we're getting. So now we do them quarterly. We partner with D&G Roofing and they let us use their space. And so we go once a quarter, we get food and we let volunteers come and help us, which has also been very cool and helpful. So we're filling 150 to 200 every quarter. That's our goal. So I think last quarter we did 150. This is us at Care House, the first time we ever gave them. So that's some of their social workers, their director, and that's my sister. So we have ways to donate. That's our biggest thing is we are fully funded by donations. We talked about writing grants. That's in our like strategic plan for the next year. But we get all of our money from donations from community partners, different things that we've fundraisers we've done. I think we are actually going to start planning a golf outing. And so I'm letting my other board members take that over. So there's a way to donate. There's different pages at the top too. So we let people donate the item, so you can go directly to our Amazon list. It will be sent to my house. Or there's a way to donate on DonorBox that will give the option to donate like an item, an amount. So there is 2 ways. And we are always open and willing to discuss any type of different ways to grow our networking availability so people know who we are and what we're doing. Anyone have any questions? The stuff in the kits is not always like exactly what it has to be either. That's just what I've come up with. More people's brains are better than one. So, anytime someone's like, do you want to try that? Or can I buy you guys that? Yeah, sounds good. Like, we always take different items to put in there. They just always have to be small enough so that we can fit in there.
Not a question, but a comment rather. Maybe an anecdotal story. Many years ago, I served on a grand jury in Greene County. And we heard testimony from a young girl who had been molested by her father. And we indicted the individual. They went to trial and they were acquitted. So I think taking a plea deal is probably the best route. It seems like juries never know what they're going to say.
That's so very true. And it's something our prosecutor worked really hard on. I mean, obviously, we went through like, I don't even know, 2 months of plea deals because they were coming with ridiculous stuff. Like a year at a time. But I agree because sometimes you can't, and if you don't have actual DNA proof, so we had DNA, unfortunately, it was a partial, and they said they couldn't match it fully to his DNA. So we couldn't use that in court. The court system's it's a very tough system. And I've really learned throughout the years of just working with families and children. I always kind of wondered like why parents it seems like they give up. They don't just give up, they almost make it impossible. When I mean like my husband and I were calling the prosecutor because we hadn't heard anything for 4 months. Plea hearing was a month away. We're supposed to know what to do, but we have no idea what we're doing. Not everyone has those means or those resources, or they don't know how. So it can be a tough system, which is where I'm hoping our peer mentorship will come in amazing, because peer mentorship is different than an advocate. That's not my job. I'm not going to be, a full-time advocate for these families. What a peer mentorship does, though, mentor is they're available whenever the family or the parent has questions, just needs to talk. You can go get coffee with them. You go to court with them. Yeah, like you're there as an extra support. And you have to have an experience related to be a peer mentor. And you have to be 2 years out from that experience to do it. So it actually started with drug and alcohol abuse. And so people that were like donors or, like they were able to actually bill Medicaid, to be their sponsor and support them. And so it's really stemmed a long way. There's lots of different peer mentorship programs, especially a lot coming out in our area, but nothing related to helping a family through, a process of abuse. Any other questions, thoughts?
It might be more of a comment, but you think it'd be helpful if you had something to give the police that would tell them that they need to explain the process, the time frame, as much as you can explain to them. Sitting there waiting for 4 months, I think that'd be stir-crazy too.
Yeah, yes.
Interestingly,
I'm not sure that the police actually, once they are, through the actual investigation, the court takes it over. So it's really the prosecutor's office or the victim advocate that's hired through the prosecutor's office that are then your connection. So like we still had a connection with our investigator. He was amazing. We still do. He showed up on his day off work, both for the plea hearing and the sentencing with us. He didn't have to. Like he's an amazing guy. And so, but really, once it gets to that step, it's the court's process more than it is the police. So we saw him a lot at the beginning, but then once it kind of hit that next step and then he was actually indicted, he kind of then is working on the back end, doing all the investigating. And he would clue us in sometimes. But he didn't have any say of when court would happen or if it got pushed back, all those other things. They also, you can see the court case. They also get continued all the time too. But there's no really right reason, why sometimes. And so it's kind of the process. And yes, I do think we need to have more education on, hey, this is a realistic time frame. Yep. Because actually ours went quick. They say it can take up to 2 to 5 years. Ours happened in 9 months. So ours actually went faster than the majority of cases. And 9 months still felt like a lifetime. Yeah.
I think Green County has children's advocates, a lady that does that kind of work. Do they get involved in this kind of stuff, or is it only like for teenagers in trouble doing vandalism and stuff?
It's kind of dependent. If you request one, I think you can get one. A lot of times CASA's child advocate, they're used for kids like in care. So in foster care, in kidship care, that's where like my actual career comes out of a lot, and so, but you can request one, and I think that'd probably be an extra supporter. Yeah.
Green County's process is about that the prosecutors, it's a division of the prosecutor's office, the victim witness division. In any child sexual abuse case, there will be an advocate appointed to follow that case through. They're supposed to keep the victim and the victim's family alerted to updates and changes, and they actually, in Green County, they've had a support dog that can go into grand jury with them and stuff like that. And so that's, I don't know if Montgomery County has a different structure for their victim witness division, but if the family's not informed, it's typically a failure at that
It's the
spot.
advocate, yeah. Yeah, I would say that was our experience. You know, what I mean, and I don't think it's not a lack of to the advocate. It's their own, they have too many cases and they can't keep up, which that's that's social services and, you know what I mean, and human services in general. And so that is what happened to us too, is we had ours leave and they didn't tell us. And then they didn't communicate with us and we were like calling, all like, what's happening? And then finally we were like, forget it, call the prosecutor myself. And then we got answers. But I think that's when we see parents and families dip. Like they're like, we don't want to do this anymore. Like this is too much. Like this is too stressful. And then we need to provide some extra support to them to do it. You know what I mean? Like where's that disconnect? So that's really my whole goal of all this is to find the disconnect and pinpoint more resources in those spots. All of those connections and all of those systems put up to help victims and families are important and they're needed. You know what I mean? Like, but also there are disconnections in spots that will be very helpful to bring, you know what I mean, some missing connections and bring it more together. Any other questions, thoughts?
Thank you very much. A lot of good information. All the recordings. A lot of information needed.
Yeah.
Not good, but good for somebody that can do this and help the kids and the parents.
Yes, I was gonna say, it's not a great story, but you know, you have to find the good out of something to help other people,
Yes.
so.
Do we have a photographer here? Oh, yeah, okay.
Oh, hold on, sorry.
I'll be question.
Good, okay, thank you.
Beer?
Yes.
Want to be in front of the booth? So taking away or you?
I'm gonna do one with it, the banner.
Oh, okay. The book is May You Love and Be Loved.
Yep, thank you. You're welcome.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
That always does a great job of matching the book to our speakers. That'd be tough as a parent. That'd probably be locked up in a cell next to him. I should have said that.
I think you can get away with it. I said you can get away with it.
I would hope so. Oh, well. I'm something for that. Yeah, anything else we brought up? No. Was you all right for the pledge of allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic which stands one nation, to this law, liberty, justice for all. And we're going to be having a board meeting here for a few minutes. See you again. Thank you very much. Right. Jack, I told you out here to taking the plane up, taking your cup. Right. He's trying to run the yard.
Yeah.
Yes, I understood.
Yeah,
It's funny. Yeah, my son. Yeah, makes no difference. This is like. This is nice. I wasn't out there, but it's a piece of sorry from the office. So. Jeffrey. You have a passion.